Hey, what's up everyone? It's Andy, owner of Dialing Masters. I'm making this video based on a lot of requests from people who do not know how to approach the leads that we're sending them. You don't know who to contact first and when to contact them, how often you should be calling these people, and how to convert more out of what you already might have. So I'm gonna be discussing a lot of things in this video. I'm gonna be talking about how to manage the leads on an Excel sheet. I know some people might have their own CRM. I'm still gonna be making important notes on how to filter and how often you should call these people. Who do you call first? And what time is the best to get in touch with them and make sure that everyone picks up because we all know there will always be a percentage of people who just don't pick up the phone. So I'm gonna start off by saying, you have to be committed when it comes to the cold calling leads. Uh, if you missed the shot, I was just talking to a client of mine last weekend. They called one of the prospects. The person picked up. They made them the offer, which was a good one. I think it was like 75% of the ARV of the property, but they just wanted to see more pictures of the property. Just because they slept on it, forgot about it for a week. Next week, the person signed a contract with another wholesaler. So definitely do not sleep on the leads. If you're the way that we send the leads, we always send it either throughout the day. Maximum you'll see the first day, the first morning of the next day right after. Definitely call the leads every single day. Do not sleep on the leads and do not miss any follow-ups. But you're probably asking, well, Andy, how do I not miss the follow-ups? How do I even set follow-ups for myself and not miss them? So the sheet is going to look like this whenever we send you, and whenever you get started with us. It's going to look exactly like this. It'll have the date, the person's name, their phone number, their address, their asking price, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms of the property, if it needs any repairs, if it's done in recent updates, the closing timeline, how soon they want to sell it, the agent name who called, the person that they spoke with, in this case, the cold caller, and any extra notes that come with the lead, which is going to have all the information that we collected. The all the previous that you just seen, so it's gonna have their name, number, and address, the property condition and details of closing, and all the extra details like the reason, the motivation, best time to call back. Everything else will be in here. So let's give an example here. Let's say that you're gonna have a lead in this section. It will have John, their phone number, their address, their asking price, needs, uh, new windows, updated the roof, and they want to close in 30 days. John spoke with them, and you have the notes in here. So the sheet when it starts getting when you start getting a lot of leads, it's gonna get crowded in here, and you're gonna have a lot of these Johns. You can even go up to like 500, which is at a point where I would definitely recommend that you do get a CRM. What I'm gonna explain here will even make it easier to transition to a CRM at one point. Still though, do follow these points even if you will not be using a CRM, and it will make it a lot easier. It will even be like having your own CRM in an Excel sheet. Let's talk about, got everything in a note just to make sure that I go through everything and I don't miss it. Let's talk about uh, the feedback column. And everything that I'm going to be explaining here, it will be in a PowerPoint that I will be attaching alongside the video, wherever you're watching it. So, the feedback column. This needs to be very detailed. We're going to be including one, two, uh, three things in this column. Whenever you call one person, you're gonna get one out of two scenarios. One, they're gonna pick up. Two, they're not gonna pick up. When they don't pick up, we'll get to that. But let's say you've called John, 123 Main Street. They picked up. You made them the offer. You did whatever you did on the call, and now you gotta leave your notes. We're gonna go to the feedback column. So today is the 4th of December, 2024. You have to put the date of when you spoke to that person to make sure that you're not just roaming around about. You don't even know when was the last time you called that person. Make it easier on yourself. Put the date inside. So 12/04/2024 is when you spoke with them. Put your name in there. Your name is Andy. I'll put my name in there, and then we're gonna write the notes. So I spoke with John. He wants to sell at a free sale. Like he wants to sell it for 50. I made an offer at 320. He'll think about it. He wants an email. He wants, he wants whatever. You've put all the notes in there. We'll leave it at that. Sometimes when you write too much in the cell, it's gonna drag on to the next, just like you can see in the video. I'm gonna be explaining a lot of things about Excel too that will help you so much. So you can even take that as a short Excel tutorial on how to manage leads easier. Text wrapping. When you click on that and you choose the clip, it will just clip it to the cell itself, so it doesn't drag on, confuse you, and you can always just do it by tapping on it. You'll still see everything in there. So you've left the notes in there, right? You should be doing this to all the leads that you have in there. You've made a contact with one person, they picked up, leave your notes, put in that date, put in your name, put in exactly what happened on that call. That will help you so much. It's not always about getting a lot of leads. You don't have to get 600 leads to close on something. Do not crowd yourself. Do not always be looking for the new leads when you have old ones in there. I've worked in a lot of cold calling businesses before opening my own, and I gotta say, the most leads that I've seen convert are the old ones, not the new leads. The new leads do not convert as fast as the old ones in your CRM or in your Excel sheet. I would even be looking at the older leads before I even call the new ones. Like when I start my day, definitely check for the follow-ups before you call the new ones. You still gotta call the new leads every single day, though. I'm not saying it's not important, but calling the follow-ups and checking every old lead that you have that you should be calling is so important. That is how you close on more deals. You've left your note. You've done the same thing with every person that picked up. What's the next step? So I'm gonna be talking about the extra columns. You can make as many as you want out of these. However, that makes it easier for you, depending on how many people you have working on the Excel sheet, and however you want to filter it. Filtration is so important as well on how you manage every lead that you have in the Excel sheet. This is what is gonna turn. We're gonna turn the Excel sheet to a CRM right now. So watch closely about what I'm gonna do. So you've done the feedback column. We're gonna add another one. I'm gonna be naming this. We're gonna call it lead status, right? It's exactly like Podio, guys. If any of you have used Podio or not, I know a lot of people have, especially when it's just starting up. It's the easiest to get started with. Lead status is exactly how you're gonna know where you stand with all of these leads, right? So the first John I have right here, I've contacted him. We're gonna be doing this as a drop down, right? So here's what you're gonna do. In order to do that, you're gonna insert the drop down menu, right? So I'm gonna right click, I chose drop down, and I'm gonna put in my options. So how many lead status do I want to put in there? From my experience and from what I've seen, I even had it in all the podiums that I've worked in. I would put, so I'm gonna have a status of follow up, a person that I'm gonna be following up with for sure. I'm gonna have, so let's say you got contract sent, you've sent that person a contract, you know that person is locked in, obviously not contacted. Every new lead should have the status of not contacted. Dead deal. You've looked at it, you've done your best, it's a dead end, you don't want to waste time on it, you're just gonna put the dead deal. So what I mean by follow up here is someone that you've spoken with and you're gonna be calling that person back in a matter of a week or so. That is a person that you see them converting soon. You just need to call them back. You know, whether you're building rapport with that person, you're building a good relationship, and you're just getting them to trust you to go through the process and sell you their house. You could add another lead status and call it, long follow up. So these are people that you see that, you've spoken with the homeowner. You were okay with us sending you leads that are going to close on a long term. You've spoken with the second John, and the second John says, you know what, Jake, I'm going to sell that property, but I'm actually going through a lot of stuff right now. I want you to give me a call back, 6 months from now. So here's a rule of thumb. If someone says any time frame, divide it by 2 and call them back. 6 months, I'll call that person back in 2 or 3 months. So I would choose a long follow-up status and put that in there. You can even color code it. So let's do, the follow-up is gonna be yellow, contract is gonna be green, not contacted. I'll choose that like light blue. The deal is gonna be red, and let's do that one light purple, the long follow-up, and we'll choose done. So that'll be it. The next thing we want to do is drag that down every cell in that column. Put it everywhere. So whenever any lead is added, uh, you're gonna see that in there. Right. So whenever I chose, I've called that person. So let's say the first round I just called them, and I've got a resolution with them, right? So I'm gonna do, I've contacted that person. I'm gonna be calling them back. Let's say I'm gonna call back in 3 days to follow up. So I'll choose that as the follow up, and I'll put that on my calendar so I don't forget it. So I've gotten that out of the way, and I can always filter by that. So the why I'm saying it's so important is filtering it. So you're starting off your day, right? You have a lot of these leads. You filter that everything. Some of them are contracts, and some of them you have not contacted yet. Some of them are long follow ups. Some of them are even dead deals. You don't even want to look at them, right? And let's just keep doing that. Let's keep doing it. I'm gonna keep on choosing the status. Like I've done all of that. I've went through them. I know who I called, who I didn't call, who I reached, who I didn't reach, who's a good one, who's a bad one. You don't have to use the exact lead status that I'm using. You can add your own, make it easier on you. However you wanna run it, run it. I'm just giving you I'm giving you the railway. You can put the train on it, and do it your way. So let's just do that, right? I've chosen my lead status. I've filtered. I've went through them. I'm doing my job right. And now, so how do I reach them better? How do I filter them better? Most people already know this, but again, I'm just going from A to Z with the whole thing. I'm explaining it from scratch. I'm gonna apply a filter. If you have more than one person working on the sheet, I would recommend doing a filter view. What a filter view is gonna do is gonna filter it for you alone, not for everyone using the sheet. Or you can just create filter and apply it for everyone using it, and just take off that deal, right? Just taking that off. You won't even have to look at it. Next thing I'm gonna do, right? What's the next step? Let's say today, guys, I wanna call. Let's do a filter view next, right? I have more than one person working with me. I'll put a filter view on there. Now I wanna call the follow-ups. I wanna check every follow-up that I have, or I wanna check every person that I sent them the contract if they haven't signed it yet. So I'll do that. There you go. Now it's easier. Now if I have 600 or even 50 leads or even 100 leads, and I have to go through them and just keep on scrolling. It's not healthy, it's a waste of time, and you're gonna miss something. Something is gonna fall through the cracks. As long as you're on top of everything, this is how you close on more contracts. You will never ever get the decent amount of closing rate if you're not doing it, the right way. If you're missing things. So whenever someone that comes to complain to me, like even if it's on their own business, like Andy, I'm not closing enough deals. It's not working out for me. What's your best advice? I would always just tell them, it's one out of two things, right? You're not reaching the people, or you're just not missing things. They're falling through the cracks. Some of these deals you're gonna end up calling, that you've missed, and you'd be like, oh shit, I forgot to call Patricia. I'm calling Patricia. Yeah, hey, I'm calling about your house. Pictures is out. I sold it. So you just missed that just because you didn't know when was the best time to call Patricia, or you were not even able to reach her at that point. I'll get to best practices on when you should be calling these people, but first off, I just want to talk about filtering the sheet and how you can manage it best way possible, to make everything easier for you. Now, I could have set this up myself. I could have put in the lead status for you, but I want you to make it work your way. I want you to put in your own lead status. Make it easier for you. Do it your way. You don't have to follow my way. Whatever makes it easier for you, just do that. And that way you don't have to keep on going back and forth and just making everything confusing for you. So that's one thing, right? Now I know which lead, where everything stands, and I have tidy like neat notes that I can look at whenever I filter out any lead. If I look at it, I'll know exactly when was the last time I called them, who spoke with them, which if you have more than one acquisition or lead manager, you know who spoke with that person and when they spoke with them and where does that lead stand, and every detail on the leads that you have. If it's messy, you're not, it's not gonna go anywhere. And if you want to make a change, if you want to close more deals, in order to make it change, you have to make it change. It's as simple as that, right? You cannot make a change. You cannot look for a change when you're not making changes. So even if you're far deep into that whole thing, you have a lot of leads already, that's fine, right? You can still go through them. You can still call them back. You can still get in touch with these people and still close on contracts. So I've seen leads close 8 or 9 months after the lead has come into the CRM. It is never too late. It is never too late to filter your list. If it's never too late to get in touch with everyone that you have. So still do not lose hope on the leads that you already have. If you're not running it that way, it's completely fine. You can still go through them from the first lead that you ever got with us. If you've been with us for over a year or whatnot, still give them a call, see where they're at. Even if you're just filtering out the bad ones, you're still doing a good job. So now we've just went through that. You can again, you can add more columns, right? It will make it easier. The more filters you have, the easier it's gonna be. If you like, so the first thing that I would do when I set up a follow up with the person and I have everything on my calendar, the first thing I do when I start my day is look at my calendar and see what follow ups I have or what meetings I have. You can still do it on the sheet as well. I would add another column and I would say next follow up, right? I've just done that, next follow up date, and I'm gonna put it in there. So I'll do like 12/04/2024. I've just done that. So now I have that date in here, and I know every lead that has that date, it's today's date. So if I want to use that as a filter, I can still do that. I can look for every lead on that date. Let's say that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leads that I want to follow up on that date, and I have more, other leads that are like on the 6th, right, or on the other days. You can just do any, whenever you put these, you're gonna be putting them one by one by hand, so you know where every lead stands. And then I want to filter everything that's due on the 4th of December. So I can click on the filter, apply the filter. Now I have everything in front of me. I know what leads I need to be calling today. These leads I want to call them today because they're all theoretically should all be follow-ups, right? And then I'm starting off my day. I want to get in touch with the people who didn't pick up, right? So I'm gonna take out the filter. I'm gonna take out the date filter. I'm gonna filter everything out, and I'm gonna get the not contacted. These people I didn't even get in touch with them. So if I never got in touch with them, these could be really good prospects. People that has someone has already spoken with them. They want to sell it. I look at the notes and I see the person asking a good asking price. I want to get in touch with that person. So why not get in touch with that person? Give them a call. Keep calling them. So which will get me to the point of how do I handle people who do not pick up my calls? And how should I even manage those leads, even if you messed it up? You can call it and mess it up. It's completely fine. It happens, even if it's a good deal. You've said the right thing. The homeowner flips. They get angry. They hang up on you, and you just dispo, put a dispo on it as a dead deal or whatever, because you just, you don't know what to do next. What will be more helpful is if you have one more person on your team. But if you're a solo person, you're doing it alone, it's completely fine. But you'll just have to give them some time. So if someone is not picking up, I would say apply the rule of 2-3-7, right? So what is the 2-3-7? Call them 2 times in a row, 3 times in a day, 7 days a week. So yeah, so again, this is the best way to make sure that everyone who doesn't pick up picks up, and I will guarantee you in that week's time period, everyone that hasn't picked up will definitely pick up. It's impossible for that person to not pick up. We have already spoken with them, so we know the number is valid. You can even have the calls are recorded anyway, so everything is in there, and we know we had a full-on conversation with that person. There's no reason they wouldn't pick up for the time period of 7 days. So, 2-3-7. Call them 2 times in a row. Let's say it's 10 o'clock in the morning, right? I've woken up. I've started my day. I'm in the office. I'm calling the person. I'm gonna be calling John. I'm gonna call John 1 time. John doesn't pick up. I'll call him a second time. If he doesn't pick up, all right, that's fine. So you just called him twice and he hasn't picked up in a row. That's fine. Put it aside and move on to the next one. 3 times a day. So you've called John 10 o'clock in the morning. Call him in the afternoon and the evening and repeat that. So I've called him 2 times at 10 o'clock. I'll call him 2 times at 2 p.m. I'll call him 2 times at 5:30. So I've tried him in all times throughout the day. I've called him in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. So if he's a guy who, he only answers calls in the morning, he answers calls on his way to work, if he answers calls after he gets back from work, if he's finished and whatnot, you're definitely not missing any window. And that way is how you reach these people. And it only makes sense if you really give it a thought. You will not miss any lead that way. And if you really want to start closing on more deals and making more money, that's how you just gotta do it. It's not easy. And it's not as simple as just going through them and everyone's gonna pick up from the first string. It just doesn't work that way. I do hope that it was, but it's not that easy. So again, 237. Do that every day of the week. You can skip the weekends if you don't make calls on the weekends. I don't like making calls on Sundays. You can try Saturdays if you want to. But it's recommended that you do not miss any day just to make sure that you're hitting them. You're pushing through every window and you're not missing that shot of having them pick up. So again, 237 is calling them twice in a row, 3 times in a day, different times a day throughout the whole week. And that way you'll make sure that that person is going to pick up. So yeah, that is it. You can still add on more comms even if it's not just the follow up that I was just talking about. Let's take off the filters and go back to our main page. Let's say that I have more than one person managing my leads for me, right? I have John and I have Ashley and I have more than one person. I'll add another column and I'll call it, lead manager, and I'll put in I'll tell her to put in the names even if I want to assign it to them. I have Andy and I have Elena, so I'll say Andy, you're gonna take on the first set of leads. Elena, you're gonna take on the rest of the leads. So that way Andy knows who what they're gonna be working on. Elena knows what she's gonna be working on, and that way you have it separated and no one is overstepping and calling the homeowner from two different people and just messing it up. So that's one thing. And you can keep on adding more columns. More columns means more options for you to filter through, making it easier for you. The more time you're spending on this, especially when you're just getting started, will make it so much easier on the long term. So do not get lazy with the first steps. Building a good foundation is how you make sure that you withstand, tough. If you have a tough month, if you're not closing much, these methods will make sure that they will get you out of that tough spot and put you back on track. So yeah, that's when it comes to filters and adding extra columns to filter them. That's exactly how a CRM works. So I'm gonna switch over to Podio right now just to show you what I mean by that. You can see how the way Podio is set up is that you can look at these as their columns. They have it filtered by by lead status, by assigned to who it's assigned to. It's just a CRM kind of makes it easier on the eyes. You can use that if you have enough leads. If you don't have enough leads, it's completely fine. You can still use the Excel sheet. So Podio is literally the same thing. I guess one thing when it comes to Podio is just more options for automations. Whenever if you want to drop it on a calendar that you have, if you want to put it in in an appointments section where whenever you set up an appointment for yourself, here's an example. If you have an appointment set up, it will drop it on the calendar. It will put in the date for that, and everything else. So I guess the CRM will just give you more options if you think about it. It's completely fine though. You don't have to have a CRM again. I know a lot of people will get started. They don't even have enough leads to put themselves on a CRM. So that is completely fine. You can still use the Excel sheet. Do it your way. It's exactly the same as having a CRM. The more options you put in there, then give yourself uh, space and room to be able to filter through the leads and make it easier on yourself. You'll still be able to contact them in a better way and get in touch with more people and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So that is about it when it comes to me talking about the CRMs and explaining how the Excel sheet works and everything. I do have extra notes that I do want to mention about how you get in touch with them. So whenever I would call someone, if I'm starting the call, if I'm calling the first lead, John, how do you start that call? So we want to make sure that John knows who they spoke with, right? So you'll always have the agent name in there. You know who was the cold caller that called John. So I would always start my call with, hey John, it's Jake. I'm calling about your property at 123 Main Street. You've already spoken with Andy about it, and you told him that you wanted to sell it, and Andy told you that I would be calling you back. So here I am calling you back as requested to talk more about it and to make you an offer on the property and whatnot, and ask them any extra questions that you want to ask them and take it to the next step. I would always say start the call that way. Make sure that they recognize who you are. Make sure that they recognize that you are not the first person calling them, just to make sure that it's not like you cold calling, right? That way, you're treating it as a warm follow up. We've already spoken with these people. Make use of that. Do not approach it as a new lead, unless if you have to. And that's what I meant by when you messed it up, right? If you messed it up with John, you can approach it as a new person if you have to. If you messed it up, if it's a good lead, you don't want to lose it, give it to one of your teammates and call them and say, call John and pretend to be a new person and offer them whatever. Or you can just give him a week or two to forget about you and call him back and pretend to be a new person. You can always do that. So that's the I would say that's the best way to start that call. Introduce yourself and make sure that they recognize that this is not a cold call. It's a warm follow up that they agreed to. They agreed to be called back. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're calling back and you're fulfilling that promise. They should be happy that you're fulfilling that promise. Because most of them complain, and I've seen that because I'm frontline. Most of them complain about talking to people and not having someone call back. So the fact that you're letting them know that yes, here I am, I'm calling back as promised, that alone should give you more credibility when you're talking to them. So that's one thing. I would say that these are the most important notes. Honestly, that's everything that you need to get started. Everything else, I'm sorry to say that, but you're on your own when it comes to closing the deal because uh, I can only give so much when we're just on the front line. I'll tell you how to manage them and how to approach them. If you want more assistance managing the leads, if you need more assistance and getting more contracts and you know reaching people easier, you have a lot. It's too much to do on your own. We always have the option of hiring a lead manager through our agency. Get in touch with us, get in touch with our support team, and make sure that you clarify what you need. And we can always support you with that and let you know about the pricing and everything and how we can approach it and as having someone manage the leads for you if it's too much for you, or if you just want to delegate that task over to us alongside the cold calling task that we have. So I guess in that case, you just drop the offer in the notes, and the lead manager will just call with the offer, and your only job will just be sending the contract and dispelling that lead and selling the contract if you're a wholesaler, or just buying it and holding it if you're an investor who's into that. Pretty much, that's everything I would like to talk about on the video. I'm approaching 30 minutes. I don't want to really go beyond that. I'll stop right here. Commitment and consistency are so important. Even if you're working a second job alongside this, do not neglect the leads. Do not let things fall through. Always have dates in there and do not miss any date that you put as a next follow up just to make sure that you're always on top of it. If you're always on top of it, you will have I cannot guarantee tell you exactly how many closings you have, but you will have the best out of what you have. So always aim for that. Make the best out of it you got, and you'll always be on top of it. And you'll always make sure that you're uh, way past the breaking even point and making more revenue than what you're spending on this. Feel free to get in touch with me. Everything is on the website, my phone number and my email. Get in touch with everyone on there, and we'll be more than glad to help. And that is pretty much about it. I have nothing else to add to it. Again, if you have any questions, just let us know. Thank you for watching, and I wish you more closings. Peace out.